Welcome to the Beyond Cinema studio up here at Sundance, Drewmeyer Oaks, Rob Brink. Mate, tell me about just the fact that you guys are here together. I think speaks volumes for your job as a film commissioner. Most people we know are all about attracting foreign production into the state, less about kind of cultivating Indigenous filmmaking within the state. So what is it that made it important an issue for you that you wanted to kind of get this off the ground?
Well, for San Antonio, the most important thing that I realized shortly after I arrived there 8 years ago was we're not Austin. And I started my career at the Texas Film Commission in Austin, and things just happened like normal film commissions, and the production happened, and film schools were there, and film societies, et cetera, et cetera. So over the years, we've really refocused our energy on a new model. And Rob is the product of one of our first programs, which is Student Film Project.
So you took 25K of your own money from your back pocket.
Actually, I took $25,000 from my advertising budget.
Okay.
But we had been advertising in a variety of periodicals, and I was at a conference in Scotland a few years ago with well-known producers and location managers and decision makers, for film commissions. And it was a marketing panel, and I asked them, I said, have you ever seen my ad in this magazine? And there was this pregnant pause, and they all said, no, sorry, mate, never seen it. I said, thank you. That's what I wanted to hear.
Yeah.
So, we decided to take that money and shift it over to where we knew it would make a difference. And my idea was to hit grad students, because I knew graduate students were serious and be moving right into filmmaking, and I could, do what I could do to mold them and to ingrain upon them that shooting in San Antonio works and it makes sense for most projects, and that it can work.
And if I may, the strength of the idea, it goes way beyond just helping me make my film, which I'm really grateful for, and certainly San Antonio occupies a big part of my imagination. But the cool thing about this is, in contrast to putting an ad in a paper or whatever, a magazine, where we sort of go subliminally San Antonio, whatever. What you have is grad students at all the big five, grad school filmmaking programs,
Right.
and others as well. Everybody thinking about, how can I write my thesis project, the culmination of all of my study, for San Antonio. So whether you won or not, you wrote your thesis film for San Antonio, and it's now there in the background of your imagination for the rest of your filmmaking life.
So were you at Columbia at the time?
So I'm at Columbia. I'm
Yeah.
a Columbia student. This is my pre-thesis film that we just made. And, but I can tell you that there was cutthroat competition in the halls at Columbia, people all going like, well, how can I write my film better, more appropriately for San Antonio? And that's far more participatory and powerful probably than any kind of an ad you could put into a magazine. So the 25 grand gets, I think a lot more bang for its buck.
Yeah.
It's kind of a brilliant
So
idea.
why Depression era San Antonio?
Well, for me, I was already obsessed with the idea of doing something with Robert Johnson, whose music, kind of profoundly influenced me. And he came to San Antonio in 1936 to record his first sides, they called them, his session, that kind of changed the face of music, for the next 50 years. And so there was one place to do that, and that was San Antonio. And I had just come to the conclusion with my producers that we could not afford to shoot the film, except for in my mother's garage, maybe. So we were planning to do a little closet, enterprise like that, when we found out about the Student Film Project and hustled and got ourselves ready and put an application in, and we were lucky enough to have the thing be accepted. And
Yeah.
yeah.
On the flip side, so having Devil Deals Blues there, on this kind of low budget scale, but kind of cultivating these student audiences. On the flip side, then, in your kind of day to day, what project do you feel like you've had the greatest impact on in bringing to San Antonio?
Well, this one really was different from anything we had done before, and I purposely entrenched myself in his production over the past 10 days.
You're in the film too, right?
I have a small...
He's in the film.
Where do you get all this information? We're trying to hide everything, and it's secret. And it's a story about two girls that go on a road trip. No, he knows everything.
He personally drove me around San Antonio looking for locations, introducing me to the historical locations. And, you know, the San Antonio Film Commission does a lot more than just kind of broker location permits. So the experience of shooting in San Antonio is really different from being in LA or New York or something. A lot of handling.
Do you do the same thing when you have big productions come to town?
We do, and you know, we have large productions that look at us regularly, and we do the same thing. And right now, you know, for instance, there's a TV pilot that is written for San Antonio and meeting with the writer, executive producer, and all their team. And we gave them the same tour that we gave Rob, the dude from Colombia, you know. And I think in this industry, you know, when people walk off the plane, you don't know who you're getting. And although you can always tell they're film people, but it really is an equalizer when they step off the plane and walk into the film commission.
Do you think like your attitude towards the whole process that you go by stems from the fact that you've been in their shoes, that you've been a filmmaker and around filmmakers, or is it some other background that kind of adds this element?
It's really been my culmination of my kind of zany variety of experience that I think has led me to this. And I went to film school at UT and came to LA and wanted to make it, and, you know, really wished that people would pay me to work on films, and realized that, you know, years later that you don't get paid until after you work a few for free and all that. And written films and worked on films, corporates, commercials, and then working with the Texas Film Commission kind of at the height of its you know, workload during the 90s, you know, with films like Flesh and Bone, Lolita, Adrian Lyne, Scouting with Peter Ware, Bruce Beresford, Catherine Bigelow. I mean, it was in a remarkable time to be learning how to be a film commissioner. And, you know, I brought all that to San Antonio, and after 4 years, I just realized it's like, well, the old stuff doesn't work. And for this market, this program, you know, we brought in a film that was the type of film that you would see if it was a $5 million feature, except they were compressed. They were 5 days.
Do you feel a sense of competition or collaboration with, you know, Dallas and Austin?
We feel a sense of frustration with Austin. We feel a sense of collaboration with the other cities. And I say that lovingly. But when I ask filmmakers why they want to go out to Austin, in general, they're like, it's so fun, we love it. And I'm like, really? That's it? That's the reason? So it's frustrating at times. I spent 21 years in Austin. I know it like the back of my hand. However, I know Austin in 1999 like the back of my hand. It's very different now, but the truthful answer is no, we don't. And Texas is unique because we have 4 major production centers, plus El Paso, plus Brownsville, and Lubbock and Amarillo in the Panhandle. All completely different areas. Urban centers are completely different. The rural areas are different. The language is different. I mean, it's like being a film commissioner in a continent with multiple countries. And so we market together, we work together. It works out. If projects aren't right for us, we say, you know, but Houston's where you need to be because they got this.
Project you're proudest of over the course of the last few years?
I have a real special connection to a 2006 Sundance film called La Tragedia de Macario. It was a film made by a 23-year-old immigrant from Mexico for about $38, and I saw the film at a screening in San Antonio, and I said, we got to meet and talk, have lunch. And the first thing I said at lunch was, your film will be at Sundance. And he said, what is Sundance? And 9 months later, we were at Sundance.
And then he said,
this is what Sundance is. And 6 features later, he's still doing it. So that's Pablo Vélez.
very cool.
Yeah.
And for you, Rob, on a final note, I mean, you've been blogging on the San Antonio site, keeping people involved. What's next for your film?
Well, so we just wrapped last week, and I hear that late last night the transcoding has finished, so we can edit those 5K files on a laptop. We're gonna pretty quickly come to some kind of an intermediate picture lock so that we can look at scoring, because the film is so much about the creative process of a musician. It's really important that the music almost usually you lock picture and then you score to support the picture. But we're looking to organize the images around the music to some degree. So we're going to put a lot of effort into scoring and the sound of the thing. It's almost more important than what you see, although we put a lot of effort into that. And I want to say too about San Antonio, working there, that you were asking Drew, how does he feel that sense of competition or of collaboration with Austin? I worked really hard to I'm from outside, so I Drew inserted us into the San Antonio community, and we had the challenge to build a crew that could work quickly and well together in 5 days, people that I'd never met. And what I can say about San Antonio that's kind of special is because maybe there's so much production magnetism over to Austin or to other places. The people who are there in San Antonio are devoted to making San Antonio something special, and it really is. We have an amazing esprit de corps from the crew, and a willingness to go the extra mile. And many of them are kind of generalists too. So your sound man has also been an AD and is also gaffed, and it's kind of crazy. I look at the resumes and they're really different from what you see in New York City. You see people who have an idea of what everybody else is doing, and as a result, a small crew can accomplish a lot more as a quickly tight-knit production unit. So I think that's one of the things that's really special about San Antonio and could benefit low-budget productions and or budget productions of any budget possibly with the indigenous crew. It's kind of pretty cool.
Very cool. All right, well, thanks for coming and having a chat to us for a few minutes.
Thank you for having us
Yeah,
at
no
the
worries.
Beyond Cinema Lounge.